Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice Whitaker, CGNE Administrator and Education Program Manager. It's my pleasure to host the CGNE seminar series and want to do a shout out to Jenny Rank for all of her planning and implementation of the seminars as well. We're super excited to present 5 amazing seminars this spring semester. This program is provided by the Teresa Neese and Helen Diskovich Center of Geriatric Nursing Excellence at the Penn State Ross and Carol Neese College of Nursing in collaboration with the Office of Outreach and Professional Development, the Center for Nursing Research, and Age-Friendly Care Pennsylvania. Today's seminar, On the Road with the Lion Mobile Clinic, will be presented by Dr. Michael McShane, Associate Professor at the Penn State College of Medicine. Unfortunately, Dr. Jen Kowalkowski was unable to co-present today as originally planned, but we know that she has contributed nursing expertise to this project. Before Dr. McShane begins his presentation, there are some announcements and disclosures. So Penn State Ross and Carol Neese College of Nursing is approved as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by Pennsylvania State Nurses Association, an accredited approver by the American Nurses Credentialing Centers Commission on Accreditation. Participants with a valid RN license that attend the entire activity and complete the post-event evaluation within 1 week can earn 1 contact hour. Partial contact hours are not awarded. Certificates will be emailed to RN participants meeting all requirements approximately 1 month following the seminar. As a reminder, the seminar is being recorded. And if you have any comments or questions for our speaker, you can either enter them into the chat feature or you can use the raise hand feature and Jenny will unmute you so you can speak aloud. The post-event evaluation link will show in your browser when the webinar concludes, and it will also be emailed to participants within 24 hours. This evaluation is required for RNs that want to have contact hours, but we do ask that all participants complete the tool to assist with our data collection. And if you have any questions or concerns, you're always welcome to reach out to cgne@psu.edu. Next, I'd like to introduce Nawal Said Al-Asari. She's one of our CGNE affiliate graduate students in the 3rd year, I believe, of her PhD program. Nawal's area of focus involves cognitive reserve and aging, and Nawal will be presenting a poster at the upcoming Eastern Nursing Research Society conference to highlight her study on post-stroke cognitive function and the relationship of the social determinants of health. Thank you, Nawal, for being here to introduce our speaker today.
Okay. Thank you, Janice. So it's my honor to introduce an incredible speaker who will be presenting today. So let me share a brief overview of Dr. Michael McShane's background. Dr. Michael McShane is an associate professor of medicine and internal medicine trained physician. His work has focused on patient and community advocacy, identifying the health interventions designed with and for communities. This has included research on implementation and outcomes associated with mobile health in rural communities. His research includes utilizing community-based participatory research methodology to ensure the voice of the community as well as to help to decide which service and educational intervention would be benefits those within the community. So now let's welcome Dr. Michael McShane to begin his presentation. Dr. Michael McShane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nawal, and thank you, Dr. Whitaker. I really appreciate this space to share a little bit of the work that we're doing with the Lion Mobile Clinic. I'm going to share my screen here real briefly. And hopefully Okay, we're looking okay? All right, it's awesome. Thanks. All right, thanks everybody. Yeah, so really appreciate the space. Today I was hoping to share kind of the history behind the mobile clinic and some of the work that we're doing. I will say this is a little bit on a higher level, so I won't get into some of the nitty-gritty details, but more than happy to share any of those questions or ideas. The other piece of this too is I think a lot of the work that we're doing is focusing on creating meaningful experiences for our students. And so, if there are ways to collaborate or ideas, would love to be involved and figure out ways that we can help the student experience. So as I'm going through this talk, I'm hoping I can kind of share that little bit of that high level perspective of it, so that some of those avenues might come to fruition. The other piece of this too is about the patients, and so many of the communities that we go out to, and I'll describe a little bit about this, are really those remote, rural populations and many older adults. And so I think you'll see in some of the description that I have that many of the programs that we've created or have been established with the mobile clinic really focus on older adults in our community that have become geographically isolated, have transportation issues, whatever it may be, that limit their ability to access care. And so we hope that we can sort of move the needle on that. Now, before I jump into it, this is probably one of my favorite photos from the mobile clinic. So this was a farm that we go out to, one of the dairy farms. And I promise we did not stage this photo. It just happened that the place that we parked, there was a cow right in front of us. So I love this photo because it almost looks like one of the Airstream or one of the mobile clinics is being pulled by the cow. So just had to share it. And I think also kind of gives that quintessential picture of the places that we're going. Hey, this is parked out at a cornfield. We'll park, anywhere to provide the care that we can to those populations. All right. So, just briefly, what I'm hoping to share today is a little bit behind sort of the inception of the mobile clinic, its mission, goals, and activities that we're involved with. And then I also want to jump into a little bit of the collaborations that we've established within the College of Nursing and beyond. I think a lot of this I hope will ring true, and I suspect there's probably some overlap of great work that folks are doing across the university. So I hope there are ways that we can collaborate. This is a photo of us in the Airstream and Ag Progress Days, which is a major event that we'll host, and we'll be involved with, where we provide health screens. And so it's a great time for us to access farmers and farm workers that may otherwise not seek out medical care or get general screens. All right, before I go any further, I was going to share this video. So thanks to the Penn State Strategic Communications team who created this video. This is one that was published maybe 2 years ago. I could sit here and talk a fair amount about its inception of the mobile clinic, but I feel like this video does a way better job than I could ever do. So I'm just going to play this video to give a little bit of background, and apologize to folks that have already seen this.
This really started with Snowshoe, Pennsylvania. So a community just north of us was hit really hard. Lost its grocery store. It burnt down in a fire, along with its hardware store. Lost its bank, its pharmacy, and then unfortunately its clinic shut down. So we at the College of Medicine, our students, faculty, staff really rallied and said, is there something we can do to help? We're a student-run free clinic that provides care to underserved populations around Center County.
There's so much more to care about a patient than just the problem that they're presenting with.
How do you earn the trust of the community as you get out there and get people to come see you?
It's all about relationships. It's really rewarding as a Penn State graduate to be able to go out and serve the community in different ways. And I think what we really try to do is blend in those opportunities of teaching, research, and education.
The students try to help educate the seniors at the center on ways that they can improve their diet through healthy eating.
As far as produce and fresh meat and stuff, it's not available up here.
So if you can't access fresh food, produce, you're not going to access medicine.
Not enough attention is paid to rural healthcare. We talk about the we are spirit, that it's not about us, it's about the communities we build. And I like telling everyone, that we're the only land-grant university in Pennsylvania, meaning that someone may or may not be a Penn State, or we may not claim them. But I tell you what, every one of them has a claim on Penn State. What you do gives opportunity to these communities to thrive as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
It's, one of the things about that video too that I think really highlights the need. You look at Center County, the amount of a population that has health insurance is anywhere from 90 to 92%. So there's a significant portion of the population that has health insurance. I think what we have found as we've done more and more of this work is that there are so many isolated older adults that may have health insurance, may have a PCP, but for one reason or another cannot access it. And so as a healthcare physician, as a provider, I think, that really is a challenge. It's tough to see. We've heard stories of patients delaying care as a result, especially in locations where the infrastructure to support the health and well-being of the population has disappeared. And so when you hear those stories, it's really challenging, and it's affecting our older adults, which is tough to see. So in terms of our mission and vision, this just kind of gives a little bit of a breakdown. And I think it really rings true to that concept of, are there ways that we can help support underserved and under-resourced communities within central Pennsylvania, and try to provide innovative or sustainable solutions at that individual level, but then also at a community level. And the story of Snowshoe, I think, really highlights this, that it's a community that was hit hard with the loss of not just the access to healthcare, but access to food, access to the built home, access to resources to help the community really not just survive, but thrive. And so some of the work that has been generated out of the mobile clinic, sure, is a showing up, being present, being with the community, but it has also been this lane of strategizing, advocating, and trying to figure out other solutions to help support the community. And so, as much as that's our mission, okay. Yeah. So as much as that's sort of our mission, I think when we view these mobile clinics, we have sort of developed three different lanes of, I think, the ways that they can support a community beyond the piece of healthcare access and quality. And so at the very start of this, it has been about service. We've talked about leading with service, of finding opportunities and support for communities. And so as we think about these mobile clinics, that we really view them as these mobile clinics, these healthcare delivery elements that can be brought to communities that are farther away from our campuses. What I will say too, though, is from the tripartite mission, I think we also have developed a mission towards trying to provide other resources to communities that could be beneficial. And a piece of that is being involved in research. So there are mobile clinical research centers across the country. West Virginia is one of them. But the idea is, can we establish some routine or rhythm that we can not only help recruit for ongoing studies that may have some monetary or other support for the people that are enrolled in it, but also have community members and communities embedded in research projects earlier on in the process. And so have that patient voice, have that community voice be embedded. And so some of the work that we've been focusing in on is that aspect of research, of trying to leverage resources within the university and provide opportunities for the population in rural communities to be involved in the research process. And then the final piece is, and one of the most important pieces is education. We really view that these mobile clinics can be an educational resource for our students to create experiential learning opportunities for them, but then also a way for them to connect with communities and help those communities learn about medical conditions, whatever it might be. And so as much as we have students, I see this, we sort of view these mobile clinics as almost like a bi-directional relationship with the community, where the students are learning from the population and the population is learning from the students. And so that's been a really unique lane that I think we've been focusing on as we've developed this. And then, as I mentioned, I think at the end of the day, what this is about and what the mobile clinic has become is really about access and advocacy. So the piece about access, yes, healthcare, trying to figure out ways to provide high quality healthcare to populations that are more remote. But the other piece too is I think we've sort of developed this lane of trying to be that voice for the voice of the voiceless in rural communities. Those that have had a challenge of not being able to share their concerns, their challenges that are happening in the communities that are around us. And so I think an important aspect of what we have become is sort of this way to share the stories, share the challenges, and try to provide opportunities and resources to the communities that may not otherwise have those resources. This again is a picture at one of the farms that we were at, kind of setting up for one of our events. Okay, before I get any further, I wanted to share a little bit about what Lion Mobile Clinic is in terms of our infrastructure, and hopefully this will help to kind of understand some of the projects that we're doing. So over the past 3 or 4 years, we've been able to develop this fleet. We have 3 trucks and then 2 Airstream units. My next 2 slides will show a little bit about what they actually look like. So we have one Ford F-150 that's pulling a base camp. A base camp is one of the smaller models of the Airstream that was customized. And then we have a Ford F-250 that's pulling a bigger unit that's a Flying Cloud. You can kind of view it as the base camp is sort of a 1 exam room setup. And then the Flying Cloud is essentially 2 exam rooms. So both of these units, we worked with Airstream to help customize. The funding that we were able to get to support this came from support from GT Thompson and congressionally directed spending a couple of years back to purchase the actual capital equipment. This photo kind of gives you a perspective of what the larger unit, the Flying Cloud, looks like. So on the left-hand side, this is one of our students, Katrina, a medical student, who's doing hepatitis C screening. And so we have portable exam rooms that we have built in. We basically gutted the inside of the Airstream units and then redesigned them much like a clinic. On the top right-hand picture, you can see a little bit on the inside, and Katrina would be sitting in the inside to the right there. But there's a vaccine fridge. To the left is a sink and a bathroom. And then behind it is the second exam room. And then the bottom right-hand photos from Ag Progress Days, it kind of gives you a perspective, and I'll share a little bit more about this, but much of what we do is inside and outside of the unit. Some of that is to draw patient populations into the location that we are located in. And then sometimes, especially with older adults that may have limited mobility, we can deliver some of the clinical care outside the physical mobile unit if we need to. The larger unit, which is this one, the front door is ADA accessible, and we have a ramp which allows for access into it. But I think for the majority of the time, we've been able to deliver what we need outside the physical mobile unit for those that may be in a wheelchair or have limited mobility. And then externally on the larger unit, this Flying Cloud, you'll see there's a TV screen in the bottom right-hand corner and speaker system, which has been really helpful for patient education. And then also have some information that's available to patients while they're waiting for test results or whatever it might be. And then here's the smaller unit. This is the base camp model. We use this to go out to many more of the dairy farms and more remote locations that may be off-road. It has a higher base wheel, so it's able for us to be a little bit more rugged. This is kind of gives you a perspective of in the top right-hand corner what one exam table looks like in that unit. And then the left-hand side gives you more perspective of it's pretty roomy where you can have a fair amount of people inside the unit to be able to do different events. It too, in the bottom right-hand corner, straight ahead is where the bathroom's located. And then there's an external sink as well with it. So the spaces for both of these, we designed in a way to try and keep it as open as possible. And I think as I share a little bit more of the collaborations that we do, is really to provide that space so that multiple things can happen potentially in the unit in terms of resource delivery to communities that we may be visiting. But again, similar to the Flying Cloud, oftentimes we'll set up a table and tent outside the unit, especially for check-in or other health and education and resources right outside the unit. So I wanted to share a little bit of perspective too. Hopefully I don't share too much of the brand loyalty, but I'm a Penn Stater, so I think really have a lot of loyalty to the brand. And also, I think, Penn State and some of the great qualities of the land-grant institution, I think we really have the opportunity to be a leader in different lanes. And so I wanted to share a little bit of perspective of where we stand as it relates to other Big Ten universities. And in terms of mobile clinics across the Big Ten, this is pretty much it. There are a total of 8 universities, including us, that have mobile units. Some are in different stages, and some have specific focuses. The majority, interestingly, are based in cancer centers or institutes. And so you'll see that in some of the descriptions are here. Probably one of the more robust programs has been Ohio State. They have had mobile mammography for a long time and are well established in some of the more remote rural communities in Ohio. Other ones are just getting started. So Indiana University recently got a donor to support a mobile lung cancer screening unit. You'll see many of them have this focus on prevention and screening. There are some that have a focus on outreach or delivery of primary care. University of Minnesota is probably one of those that has really developed a robust program. It was started out of really at the back of a trunk of a physician, and then has developed into a pretty unique program. They recently had sort of a documentary that was published that's really unique, and I'd say Google it if you have a chance to share a little bit more about their program. But in general, what I hope this slide shows is that us as Penn State University are well in line with what's happening across the Big Ten. And I think there's also a huge opportunity where we can help to be one of those leaders of how we do mobile health and in what way can it be beneficial to the communities that surround our campuses. I think this also shows that, across the Big Ten and other universities across the country, this is something that many universities have established as programs and have embedded students within it. So I think this is just to share that there's a similar direction and trajectory that other universities are also sort of building programs in a similar manner. All right, next I want to share some of the activities that we're involved with the mobile clinic. This is a photo that we had an event in Huntington County. It was about sort of outdoor first aid, where we had a whole host of folks that were involved with it and brought the base camp out to that location. So in terms of healthcare and healthcare access, we really we focus on this model called tailgate medicine. Now, tailgate medicine actually came from the military, started in the Army. It was during one of the Iraq conflicts. And the idea was, are there things that our combat troops can do to provide a same quality of care, of healthcare delivery and access that a brick and mortar clinic could do out in the field, either for combat troops or citizens in that country? And so what they basically did was figure out ways that they could stock any truck and literally drop the tailgate and provide the care at the scene. Probably one of the best examples of this is the Stop the Bleed kit. So Stop the Bleed is an amazing program. Essentially helps to has a tourniquet and then hemostatic gauze that helps to stop the bleed in the field and save a life, if not a limb potentially. So it was very important in the military. That has since progressed to the civilian world and is a major part of what the American Trauma Society does. And so what we do is we have taken that too on the road. There are many incidents that happen at farms and accidents that can happen. And so these Stop the Bleed kits are really helpful. I think what we've also seen as emergency medical services have contracted across Pennsylvania, so too has access to an ambulance potentially. And so these Stop the Bleed kits can be critically important, especially for our rural populations. What tailgate medicine has been for the military is expanded much more beyond the Stop the Bleed kits. To be able to have forward operating bases that provide surgery or other more diagnostic skills out in the field has been something that has been developed. And so we are trying to take some of that and say, are there things that we can do from a healthcare access and delivery perspective that does not require a brick and mortar clinic? Point of care testing has expanded significantly. There are street medicine teams that roll with point of care ultrasounds. So there are ways in which that we can deliver the same quality of healthcare outside of a brick and mortar clinic. And that's kind of the philosophy that we've focused on when it comes to the mobile clinic and providing healthcare access or quality out in the field. These are some of our photos. So an event that we had in Howard in the top right hand, top hand corner there. We hosted an event with actually Paws, where we had folks bring their pets, and Paws would help with vaccines and microchipping. And then we were there to do flu shots for the humans. And so this was an example of us really trying to partner with Ag Sciences and local vets to provide, sort of take advantage of the human animal connection, and hopefully help attract more people to get immunizations for flu, which was really a fun event too. And then the bottom left-hand corner, we have one of our students that's doing point of care blood sugar testing. And then the bottom right-hand corner is us doing a home visit that we will do in some of our remote rural populations for older adults that can't physically get to the mobile clinic at different sites that we're located. So in terms of healthcare access and quality, these are really the main initiatives that we've focused in on. So prevention has been a huge aspect of this. As I mentioned, Stop the Bleed kits is training is one of those. We've also focused on diet and nutrition and exercise as key things that we'll share with the population. And then immunizations, as much as we can do to provide immunizations to those that would want them, but otherwise could not access them. Early detection has been another key aspect that we focused in on. So that comes in the lane of skin cancer screening and some of the point of care testing that we do at the location. Colorectal screening has been another that we've worked with Penn State Cancer Institute to implement at different locations. Health education has also been a big aspect of this. I think gun safety has been one of the key initiatives that we've focused on to make sure that folks have gun locks for if they do have guns. And then sun safety as well as a piece of it, making sure that skin cancer rates in rural communities are significantly higher than they are in more urban locations. And so we've really focused on, as much as we can do, skin cancer screening, but then also ensure people have access to appropriate sun safety. And then the final piece that has been growing is on primary care. So we've had the great fortune of partnering with Center Volunteers in Medicine to provide access to those that may not have health insurance. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, there is a significant part of the population, especially where we live, that it's not necessarily whether or not someone has access to insurance, but it's can they access the brick and mortar clinics for care? And so what we've focused in on is providing home visits on behalf of Penn State Health patients to really kind of help folks, if we're at a location, be sort of this hub and spoke model where the mobile clinic is a hub, and then we are going out with a truck as a spoke to different locations and provide those access points to primary care services at the home of the individual. Of course, it's limited. The same is true with the mobile clinic, but as much as we can do, we provide the care at those locations. And then if a specialty referral or additional services are needed, we then have the setup where we're getting folks in or we're trying to help to arrange transportation so that they can reach those locations. This is really I think the bread and butter of what a mobile clinic can be potentially for rural communities. Really that access point for those that may struggle to be able to make it to a brick and mortar clinic for one reason or another. I think one of the biggest challenges that we hear for some of our older adults in rural communities is they may have health insurance, they may have a PCP, but transportation is the biggest issue. And especially with older adults that may have urinary incontinence or bowel incontinence, being on a bus for who knows how long is a rate limiting step. And so folks will decide that it's just, they're worried about those potential challenges that they may not be able to access a bathroom in quick enough time. And so that limits people accessing even the resources that are available for older adults. And so what we try and do is, can we be a closer access point so that people are able to get the care in a timely fashion? And so that's our hope as we sort of expand that line of healthcare delivery and healthcare access. So I think one of the amazing things as we've worked on this is the remarkable efforts that faculty, staff, and students are doing across the university to provide resources, services, whatever it might be for underserved populations in our region. And so what we've tried to do is partner with folks to figure out ways that those initiatives can work together or we can augment. And then also create programming that is focused on those that are most vulnerable. And I'll highlight a few here, and I'll go into a little bit of the collaborations with the College of Nursing. But some on this list that I think are really exciting to me and I hope will develop as we go further is one, we will often see older adults in communities that the built home has declined over time. And it's not uncommon that there are stairwells that are falling apart, or there are potential parts, simple home improvements that could prevent a fall. But yet the resources aren't there necessarily to do it. And so one of the initiatives that we've been working on with Central Pennsylvania Institute, CPI, is essentially to be able to prescribe a home improvement project. So to fix those broken stairs before someone falls and breaks their hip. And so we've been developing sort of a relationship with them and are hoping to get that program off the ground where we assess a house, we refer that to the carpentry students that are at CPI. They help us fabricate that broken stairwell and then install it in a way that can help prevent that fall in the future. And so these are the sort of the little things that I think that are related to health so significantly, but may not be that typical healthcare access, healthcare quality piece. The other piece too, we've got some great colleagues in arts and architecture and a creative care initiative where we have really tried to tackle the challenge of social isolation for older adults. We will, many of the events that we host or we go to will be at senior centers or active adult centers. And we oftentimes will roll with arts and architecture to do different projects that result in conversations with students, with other members at the senior centers, and try to create a space where people feel less lonely. So social isolation is such a huge challenge in older adults. And so that initiative is really trying to help and utilize techniques in art therapy to help tackle some of the social isolation challenges that are happening in our rural communities. And so, yeah, this is just a snapshot, I think, of some of the programming and initiatives that we've done. The one final that I'll highlight here is that, as I mentioned, I think we really view the hope that we can connect with rural communities and help solve the problems that they are noticing in their community. Right now, I think where research lies is oftentimes we're looking to recruit in rural communities, but have not flipped that script, where it's researcher X talking with the community and identifying a need, and then creating a study that is focused on that need. We're kind of have that reverse perspective. However, there are huge advantages, as many of you know, to be involved in different research studies. And so much of what we do is recruitment. So in CTSI, one of their teams helps us with identifying studies and then helping to recruit for those studies in rural communities to potentially see those benefits. And I will say it's interesting. There are some communities that we've gone to and we've done different recruitments where they come and seek us to identify if there are more studies that they can be involved with. So I think there's this benefit that some communities might see as time goes on as we do that. But we would love to be in a position where we reverse that script. So from the College of Nursing perspective, I think two pieces that have been really rewarding to work with. One has been about service. We've had some really remarkable students within the College of Nursing that have volunteered their time for different events, as well as faculty that have spent time with us on the mobile clinic to provide care to the communities that are around us. So this event on the left was in Bellefonte from the great work of one of our faculty members within the College of Nursing and some of the students as well, which was providing flu shots for that community. And so we have been really fortunate to work with some great students and faculty to arrange for those experiences to happen. The other aspect is research. I think we have had some great relationships of working with College of Nursing faculty to identify research needs. I'll mention Eric Huster's been fantastic to work with in particular and has helped roll with us to help identify research needs and focus on the challenges of climate change, especially for older adults that live in those communities. And so that has been a really key aspect as well of really kind of partnering with faculty to identify communities that may benefit from research studies or help tackle problems that we're seeing in communities, and try to fulfill those needs. From the very beginning, I think, we set out with this initiative of rolling with researchers with the idea that much of what we're creating probably would need to change based on what the community needed. And so that has been really valuable to have that element of research to be able to flex and change what services might be required or might be needed for that community. And so embedding research into what we're doing has been a key aspect of the mobile clinic and its operations. So I'm coming back to this slide because I think this again sort of gives that higher level perspective of where we're going with the mobile clinic, and I think the direction that makes the most sense. And this is really leaning into that tripartite mission of service, research, and education. And so the mobile clinic, that idea of sort of a mobile clinic providing healthcare access and quality to communities under the concept of tailgate medicine, I think is that initiative of what we've kind of focused in on in terms of healthcare access and quality. But the other two aspects I think are really key. So these mobile clinics are purely that platform to provide opportunities for research and also opportunities for our students and communities to learn. And so as we've been designing initiatives and partnering, this is kind of the base that we have viewed the potential and the priorities as we expand the mobile clinic and its reach of how do we create situations where we can have both those elements of service, research, and education. And oftentimes I think we end up kind of being we sort of are on the edges of each of these where I think that there is an element of service but is also overlapping with educational needs, or there is a research element but then is also the research may lead to a service that is important for the community. And so it's those edges of where service becomes education, where research becomes service, that I think a lot of the mobile clinic lives, and where the potential can be too, where we are really, capturing the voices of rural communities, and then we're transitioning that what we've captured into a service that's a benefit for that community. So anyway, this is kind of the direction I think we see the mobile clinic as it progresses, of thinking about this pluripotent platform that can have different elements for what may be needed in the future. All right, that's all that I wanted to share, so thank you for listening. This is one photo that we had, and I'll give a shout out to Dr. Kolkowski. So this was at the baseball stadium, and there was an event that they wanted us to park it. And if you've been there, just this huge base camp, somehow Jen was able to maneuver it and get it parked right underneath the concourse. So I will say, I don't know how she did it, but she did it and it was amazing. And then these are some of our students that were involved with it. So we can get this sucker parked in all different locations, but shout out to Jen for making it happen. And thank you again. More than happy to answer any questions.
Oh, thank you so much for such an interesting and informative presentation, Dr. McShane. On behalf of Dr. Donna Fick, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, as well as our leadership team, we really appreciate you sharing all of your expertise in this really fascinating work. It's amazing. And I think maybe Jen was able to park it that way because she grew up on a farm, I believe, right? So she's probably pretty accustomed to maneuvering machines and backing things up and all that. So that's pretty cool. And that was such a great image to end your presentation on. What a great team you have. So while we're beginning our discussion, just a reminder to folks that are participating today, if you have a question or comment for our speaker, you can either enter it into the chat or you can use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen, and Jenny will unmute you so you can speak aloud. So there's a lot of wonderful comments in the chat. Um, Sarah Songer, one of our community members and a nursing alum, mentions that she was at an event where the Lion Mobile Clinic was there, and that they needed crowd control because of the interest. I've seen that as well, even at a football tailgate. You know, you've been there, raising awareness about the mobile clinic and doing some education on different topics. The last time I think I saw that, it was on CPR, and there was quite a few. I don't know if they were going into the whole, instructions on CPR or if it was focused on choking. But that I found. So how do you select the topics that you focus on for the educational components at these different outreach events?
Yeah, no, it's such a good question. And it's also, oh boy, it's exciting, but then I think it's so challenging because um I think the needs, the access to resources is continuing to go up. And so the more communities that we're going to, the more need that we're seeing. It is motivating because it's this that we need to do more. We need to be on the road more often. It's also really troubling. We go to a military share event with Mel Curtis in the traveling table. So if folks don't know Mel, he's a force of nature in the community, does amazing work and getting access to food. But we will oftentimes roll with him. And one of the events is for former vets of the military and for those that have limited access to food. It's remarkable how many cars go through that line, and it's just one of many food distribution events that are happening across our country and our state. And so I see the need continuing to rise, and the numbers continue to rise. In terms of locations and services, some of this is, we get requests frequently to be at events. We've gotten requests to go even to Philadelphia for events, but we just can't staff it. So we've definitely seen an uptick of people that are interested in collaborating. We just can't physically get the mobile units there. In terms of services, there have been really we see what the community needs. When we first rolled to Snowshoe and some of the other communities, we had an embedded sociologist that was with us, and then Jen as well. Jen was a grad student at the time, who did needs assessments with the community and tried to identify, are there things that we are offering that are not needed, or are there things that the community really needs? And we've made flexes as a result of that. As we are rolling out, that is often the continuous question of what is actually needed here. What do we need to do to change to fit the needs of what the community might need, and then adjust accordingly as we go on.
Yeah, and I would imagine every community, there's probably some similarities as well as some differences
Yep.
So that's a kind of a continual quality improvement kind of process, I would imagine.
And I'll say too, Janice, that like each community, I think the remarkable thing is that each community has their own set of strengths that I think is really endearing and makes that community special. And so we want to uplift what those qualities might be and not be a detriment to what's happening. So what we will often find is that there may be a really good support structure for food access. And then so is there ways that we can augment that? That's kind of the approach that we sort of try to take when we approach a new community or go to a different location.
Yeah. So what is the geographic region that you work in? It seems like there's just many possibilities throughout Pennsylvania. But yet, as much as you're trying to capitalize on all the opportunities you can, as you said, it's got to be somewhat limited too in terms of capacity and resources, right?
Yeah, we've focused mostly in the Center County region, and then Clearfield, Clinton, Huntington County, and then Mifflin. It's been kind of our main target location. Because I'm based in the College of Medicine, we have done some events down in Dauphin County as well. So getting the unit down there. In fact, one of the units is going down for the Mid-Atlantic Fruit and Vegetable Convention that's happening in Hershey Lodge. So our colleagues within dermatology will be doing skin cancer screenings down there. with one of the units, and so we try to find those events that farmers, farm workers, and then agriculture industry, high risk for skin cancer. Great. Let's figure out a way that we can get a dermatologist right there and provide the care. So that's where we'll sort of try to leverage where our resources are and align them at those locations. And then really that focus around here is because we're based here. And then I think too that gosh, you don't have to look too far to find the need. I feel sometimes that we are underperforming in some of the communities that are around us because there's just so much happening that we need to,
Yeah.
try to fill the need as much as we can.
Yeah. So Kendra is just mentioning that if you're not already familiar with it, Center County has a geriatric interest network. Jenny and I are actually on the board. There's many people, and I know I've seen you at a couple of events that are connected to some of the work of the GIN network. So you're already familiar with that? Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Habiba, one of our PhD students, says, very interesting presentation. I'm looking for healthcare access and utilization of AI-based tools in providing care for older adults in rural settings. Are you using anything related to that at all?
We were fortunate enough to be invited to Penn State Outreach, had their TGIF conference in Pittsburgh recently. I think it was back in November, which had a focus on AI. And it was a great conference. Mark Cuban was actually one of the keynote speakers who came the final day, which was really neat. But we brought one of the units at Pittsburgh Convention Center, or one of the trucks, and sort of did a tailgate medicine piece about it. But I think the concept that we are trying to focus on is that there's this concept of high tech, high touch, that there are ways, how can we utilize technology to provide care to rural underserved populations, and especially older adults, but then also still have a high touch where we are there, we're with the person, we're able to have that experience and provide the care hands-on at the location where they are located. So we are this is something that I would love to get more on board. And we have done some, we have a social determinants of health survey that we've been using, one of the AI services to basically help us collate resources specifically for that person in real time. And so we've done some things in AI, but I think the potential is so much more. And it's this combination of how do we integrate high tech with also ensuring that we still have high touch with those patients. So that's the concept I think we're trying to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds amazing. So Justina Malinak is saying, very interesting presentation, and the work being done in the community is outstanding. So I think all of us would agree with that remark. Sarah's also saying that if it's okay to share your contact information, her husband's on the board of CPI, and she's on WPSU board, so they have some connections, many connections within the community that may be able to help advance some of the not only relationships, but opportunities, perhaps.
That would be amazing. This work, although I'm here presenting, I think, gosh, there's so many people that are doing amazing work to make this happen. And it also, I think, is the more folks that we can have to collaborate and figure out solutions for our rural communities, the better. And so I think, yes, definitely that'd be amazing.
So she's also asking how can I know where, when, and why? So, do you have like a web page where you list all of the activities you're going to be doing, all the service opportunities that you're participating in?
We're a small but mighty team. So Heather Perry, who you may see at some point, so we have this office over at Innovation Park. We just moved in, and it's more of a storage location. So I won't unblur my camera because you will probably see all of our junk that's here. But and Heather might walk in at some point. So Heather's our main project manager. It's really the two of us that we'll help to operate things and then sort of implement our volunteers. But we have a website that Heather will often post different events that are happening, and we'll share a little bit about it. There are some events that we don't post. So in particular, some of the dairy farms that we may go out to, there is a pretty significant fear within the populations there of ICE or other folks coming in. So we try to not necessarily share when we're going to those locations, but majority on the website. And I can make sure I drop that in the chat or to make sure we share that with folks.
Okay, thank you. So Kendra's asking, have you ever had any thoughts on doing a mobile health fair, having multiple tables on various topics at events?
Yes, I'll tell you. And Kendra, it's I'll go back to the tailgate medicine piece. So I was on a talk with the University of Michigan. They have a team that's working on basically a mobile clinic that has a lot of high tech. Now, they're in the very early stages of how they're going to develop it. But in that talk, I was talking about tailgate medicine. And so again, I think my brand loyalty will come out here. I made the comment that I don't think anybody tailgates better than Penn State. So I don't know how they felt about that comment, but I did mention that. But Kendra, to your point, I think, one of the things that we hope to do, we have been able to develop a sort of a curriculum, a set of things that we'd love to essentially host a tailgate on the roads, where we have different aspects, where it includes, we have kitchen equipment to basically cook outside. We have the College of Arts and Architecture that can do different arts projects. So like there are these really unique things that we have games for kiddos, like all these sort of resources that can draw people in. And then, oh, by the way, we're here, we can do screens for health. So I think that is this concept of taking tailgating on the road is something that I hope that we're going to try and build and do as we move on. We have an event coming up in Harrisburg called a Little Lion Tailgate that we're going to call it, but is essentially focused towards kiddos. It's with the pediatrics department down at Hershey, but it is to include elements like that, where it's a little bit of a fair, a little bit of a tailgate that draws people in and has different topics of information. So Kendra, my hope is that we have something like that as we move forward.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, like you said, drawing people in, grabbing their interest, getting them engaged, and finding those opportunities to not only, advocate for their care and, but education too, right? Um, I love the way you framed your presentation, and started at the beginning by talking about, in the video even, the blend of opportunities related to service, research, and education. And, you did a great job helping us understand what some of those are. Can you talk a little bit about what your students gain from this bi-directional, educational experience and that experiential learning that they're participating in?
Yeah, and we need to, thanks for bringing this up because we need to get this paper out. But we had done interviews with some of our first students that had rolled through. Yeah, I mean, really powerful. I think I would describe it as transformational. I think some students, um, they hear about social determinants of health, but then to actually be in an event where, and this is a true story. We were at an event, we had students that were with us. A gentleman walked up. He could not read, so he could not read the consent form for a flu shot. He was also there because he had no way to heat his home, so he was picking up free firewood, and then was also there to get free food because he had no access to food. And so to see that happening, and this was a gentleman in his 30s or 40s, is really eye-opening for our students, and I think reinforces the concepts that are happening in the classrooms. That experience you just cannot replicate. And so I think we really try hard to embed students in every aspect of what we're doing, to see the potential, see the opportunity, and see the challenges that are happening 30 minutes away from campus, 20 minutes away from campus. And so I think we've heard these stories of transformational change that has happened to some students as they go through this. And when I hear that, I think like for me, it's we've got to get more students involved. We have to make this happen. We have to, really provide these experiences because that will be the future of how we, of healthcare, of these professionals that have these changes and philosophies of ideas and can think differently. I would love it if, for me as as a person in medicine, is that, great, that, and I'm not, bashing this profession, but like if someone goes into neurosurgery or urology or whatever it might be, that's a primarily surgical field that, they think about that person that they did the spine operation on, can they get in their house? Like those sort of questions that I think when you see it in action, you see the broken stairs, that changes their perspective. And so, if that's the direction that someone goes for their career path, my hope is that this type of experiences opens up that peripheral view of what health is and how that impacts someone's health.
Yeah, I love that concept of that transformational kind of learning. And this certainly provides, a wonderful opportunity for that to happen. There are a couple questions related to fundraising and the use of volunteers. If somebody was interested in volunteering, how does that work? And, are there fundraising efforts going on right now?
Yeah, great questions. I think you know, funding wise, we've been so grateful to have support from the Penn State Cancer Institute, which has been a major funder, and then some from the College of Medicine as well that has been supportive. But we're constantly in this phase of growing and could use additional support to get on the road more. I think one of our huge needs is a driver. Being able to have someone who's dedicated to go to events and make it happen more often. So, yes, ways to donate we have on our website directly, and I think we've started to, development has been gracious to work with us and think about ways that we can have other streams of funding to help support it. But I think we're still very much in the infancy when it comes to donors and development, and I hope that that's something that we can definitely grow. In terms of volunteering work, yes, I mean, we would love it if folks are interested and would be willing to help. The best way is to either contact me directly or Heather Perry would be those two points of contact. So we'd be gracious for any support, and would love for also too, if anybody wants to come for a tour of the units or go on the road with us, yes, please do. Let us know. More than happy to. Would love for anybody to join us.
Well, maybe we can collaborate as a center, and provide that opportunity for our graduate affiliate students and maybe some of the undergraduate students, to take the tour and get accustomed to it, but then, look for opportunities that we could partner, moving forward. So, love that idea. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but can you kind of describe the typical client, for lack of a better word, what is the population? I know it's rural population, but it sounds like there's a variety. What do you typically see?
And it's I think we try to seek out the populations that are in need. I would say a large portion are older adults that are in these in communities that are geographically isolated. That's a huge population that we see. The other section that we see is we see a fair amount of immigrant population, either specifically at farms or restaurants or other locations that may not have access otherwise. So those are two of probably the main populations we see. The third would probably be veterans. Center County has a significant portion of a large portion that either used to work for the federal government, does work for the federal government, or we're serving in the military. And so we end up having some access points with them and various community events and things like that. So, but I would say older adults are a huge portion of who we see.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. I wish we had more time to talk. There's all kinds of positive feedback in the chat that I hope you've had a chance to take a look at. Erica Husser was present today, and she says, "Great work, Dr. McShane. You're building community as much as providing care. This is great. Keep up the fabulous work." I think, that's probably one of the best ways we could end this seminar. So thank you, Erica, for sharing those sentiments. I think we all would agree that this is just incredibly important and innovative work. And we look forward to learning more about it and continuing to see this grow and develop, but also, for potential collaborations, especially as they relate to older adults and the work that we do. Just a reminder to folks that are here today, the evaluation tool will pop up in your browser, and it will also be emailed to you within 24 hours. Please complete that to give us feedback on the seminar, as well as if you're interested in RN contact hours. Thank you so much to everyone for coming today. And of course, thank you, Dr. McShane, for this wonderful presentation and this amazing work that you're doing.
Thanks.